So, with the announcement of new Security Breach DLC, I thought that it would be the perfect time to finally give out my theories to basically explaining some of these characters in this game, because this game has genuinely horrendous storytelling. Like, not that FNAF has ever had the best storytelling, but like, this is just on another level. So, let's get into it. And firstly, we should start off with Gregory. He's easily the most mysterious character in the game, in my opinion, because we don't even know why he's doing anything he's doing. And I think I've came up with the absolute best explanation to Gregory's motive. And it all ties back to the very, very first Security Breach trailer. Let's play the clip.
Gregory, your friends are worried about you. They're here with me. Please, come out.
Now notice how she specifically mentions that his friends are worried about him. Now this heavily implies that, at least in the original script, Gregory was friends and was going to the Pizzaplex with the other murder victims, and he's just the only one that escaped Vanny, which probably leads to the beginning of Security Breach, where he ends up in Glamrock Freddy hiding, and Vanessa's after him. So, yeah, that basically explains the whole startup to the game. I don't know why there wasn't like some exposition of that, or like a cutscene. They really could have used that. I feel like starting just out of the blue inside of Freddy is really jarring. They definitely should have had something before that, but yeah. So now we got how Gregory got inside of Freddy explained, but now there's another interesting thing about Gregory. At 6 AM in the game, Gregory says that the reason he wants to keep exploring the Pizzaplex is because he wants to stop the disappearances from happening, which is a major problem with the game's storytelling because they don't mention that throughout the rest of the game, and it takes so long to get to his actual motive. So, it's just kind of stupid. So, yeah, I don't know. But I do think that Gregory's motive in the game is clearly that he wants to figure out what happened to his friends and make sure that that doesn't happen to any other kids. And even more evidence to support this theory. In the ending where Gregory leaves the Pizzaplex and hides in the alleyway before Vanny catches him, the newspaper he uses as a blanket actually gives us some very important information. The newspaper features a bunch of missing kids, and you can see that one of the missing kids is a very obvious silhouette of Gregory. Now this probably means that Gregory is one of the missing kids, which adds even more fuel to the fact that he's the only one that escaped, because these other kids are nowhere to be found. Also, can we mention how in the FNAF universe they have newspapers in like 2050? Now there's an extra theory about Gregory that I don't think has a 100% confirmed or obvious explanation, unlike this last one. So, basically, Gregory could have potentially been living in the Pizzaplex, as throughout the game, we see a few hideouts, most notably, and actually no, these are the only ones in the game, there's two hideouts. There's one in the Kids Cove area behind the pirate ship that looks like someone's been living there. There's like clothes and popcorn and like TV and stuff. And then in the daycare, the place that Sun comes out of at the beginning actually has a little hideout up on top. So I don't know who's been living in these places, but I'd say one of the biggest culprits is Gregory because of how feral he is. It's like, gosh, this kid. It's also known that the murders did happen quite a while ago in the game, because there is this message in the game that reads, "Why did you guys reopen? We know what happened to those kids." And this very, very, very heavily implies that the murders happened a while ago, and they actually closed down because of it, and Gregory did survive the murders, and he was living in the Pizzaplex while it was closed down, and now that it's reopened, Vanessa's back, which means that he's getting caught. Which will lead into the beginning of the game, where he's been supposedly chased by Vanessa, and ends up hiding inside of Freddy. So now that that's fully disclosed, let's move on to another character. Now I want to save Vanny for last, so let's talk about the Blob, because I did a poll, and a lot of you guys don't understand the Blob, and I don't blame you, because he is one of the least explained characters in the entire franchise. So let's just get one thing out of the way. The Blob is not Molten Freddy. Is Molten Freddy inside the Blob? Yes, probably. Is the soul still attached to him though? Probably not. The Blob is a big hunk of remnants and stuff, just random relics, probably taken from the museum in the lobby, the Rockstar Row, because there's a bunch of missing stuff in that museum, and I'm assuming all those missing pieces ended up going to the Blob. But now it begs the question, who is the Blob, who's controlling it, and why are they collecting parts with remnant in them? Alright, crazy theory here, but the Blob is Golden Freddy. Now, let me explain. So Golden Freddy, or Cassidy, or Vengeful Spirit, or whatever you like to call the character, has one of the most interesting arcs throughout the entire franchise. And in order to understand why she would be controlling the Blob, I'd have to explain all of her past lore too. So, let me just sum it up real quick. So, Golden Freddy seems to be one of the most unique animatronics in the series in the sense that he doesn't even physically exist. He's just like a ghost. Like, come on, you can't tell me that floating head is like, come on, that's a ghost. But, yeah. And this ghost is pissed off. Cassidy was one of the original missing children's incident victims, and she was not happy about what happened. So in the ending of FNAF 3, you get to see 5 kids that chase William Afton into the Springtrap suit and get him killed. But notice how only one of the kids is chasing him. And a lot of people believe the spirit chasing him to be the puppet, but that wouldn't make sense because the puppet is still attached to the actual puppet. So that wouldn't really work, because FNAF 6 shows us that the puppet's still clearly attached. I mean, it's literally inside of Lefty, that's how they captured the spirit, so I don't think the characters can just, like, leave their suits, but, you know. So the lore pretty much makes it very clear that Cassidy wants Afton to suffer. No mercy on him, just complete pain, nothing else. And when Cassidy sees him trapped in the suit, I think that she kept him alive, and that's the whole reason why Springtrap is still around, because Cassidy won't let him die because she knows how much pain he's in the suit. And this attachment remains in the series until FNAF 6, and even after FNAF 6. Because in the Fazbear Frights book number 5, Bunny Call, there's a story called The Man in Room 1280, which is basically an epilogue to FNAF 6. So we all know how Fazbear Frights loves to use stand-ins and metaphors to show us more about characters that already exist, instead of actually writing about the characters. I don't know why they do this, but they do this, and it's really annoying, but this relationship that we see in Man in Room 1280 is definitely showing Afton and Cassidy. And in the story, we basically learn that after the FNAF 6 fire, Cassidy didn't want Afton to die, and instead kept him alive as this burnt little chocolate lady from SpongeBob, which the description of very closely matches the appearance of Burntrap's skull, which is interesting. And basically, Afton is asleep in a coma, and that coma he's in is actually Ultimate Custom Night. So, yeah, he didn't go to hell, he went to Ultimate Custom Night, which is a coma that Cassidy caused on him. So then eventually in the story, they call this priest dude to basically find out why this literal skeleton isn't dead. But before this, there was actually an incident that was caused by it. So, Cassidy, when they try to basically put Afton down, you know, suffocate him with a pillow, or stab him with morphine, you know, either one, Golden Freddy Cassidy picks up this morphine syringe and tries to stab a nurse with it, so that was pretty cool. But then this priest dude comes in, and he basically gets out of Afton that Afton wants to go to a Fazbear Entertainment Distribution Center. And then he spells it out with his little bony finger. So then they take him to this little warehouse, and then he crumbles into dust. Well, not quite, he just kind of falls over, and MatPat described it as him just exploding. That didn't happen. So MatPat, point off for you. So then Afton's corpse stays there in the warehouse. And then his spirit goes on to these old archive circuit board thingies. And then those circuit boards get scanned into Help Wanted, which then leads to Glitch Trap. And we all know what happens with Glitch Trap, so I'm not even gonna bother explaining that. But sometime between this and then, I think Cassidy would have ended up somewhere. Because Cassidy, as heavily hinted in the game files of Security Breach, is the princess in Princess Quest, which implies that Cassidy also passed on to something inside of the game, in like the circuit boards and stuff, and made it into the VR game too. I'd also like to mention this is basically confirmed in Curse of Dreadbear, because Golden Freddy's main catchphrase, "It's me," is actually in Curse of Dreadbear as an Easter egg. It's extremely rare, but it was confirmed in the Ultimate Edition of the Freddy Files, so it is a real Easter egg. It is just extremely hard to find, but yeah, this is a thing that can happen, so Cassidy is definitely in the VR game with Glitch Trap. So what does this all mean? Well, I personally think this sets out a pretty set goal for Cassidy right in front of us. Cassidy as the princess from Princess Quest is simply just Cassidy trying to stop Afton's legacy from passing on to more people, which would be Vanny. So she tries to save Vanny. Or more specifically, Vanessa, because we got some Vanny theories up soon later in the video. And then the Blob is to continue to torture Afton and become more and more powerful than him. And, yeah, you know, villain stuff. I don't know. It just kind of makes sense, especially with the ending of Security Breach, with the tentacles, the remnant tentacles. That's a really cool idea. Thank you for explaining that in the books, Scott. I really like the remnant tentacle idea. That's such a good idea. Anyway. And then the Blob saving Afton at the end of the game. It just seems like it's painting out a pretty clear picture that the Blob is Cassidy. Also, yes, I'm aware of the argument that the Blob could have killed him at the ending, but the reason I don't think this is because Cassidy grabbed him aggressively because she despises him, and for the rest of the boss fight, the Blob is literally trying to stop you from killing him, so I just feel like that doesn't make sense. Also, you can totally see the Blob in the corner of the ruined teaser, which means that the Blob is probably going to be the main antagonist of that game, or the DLC. It's not a game, it's DLC, but you get the idea. And now, before we move on to Vanny, I want to explain Glamrock Freddy. And why he's not possessed at all, he's just an AI, and I have very good reason to believe that. Let me explain. So this next point is a lot more speculative than my other points, but I do think that this one makes a lot of sense. So, in the ending of Security Breach, we hear Glamrock Freddy say this line.
I am not me.
Now what this tells me is that Glamrock Freddy used to be hacked and controlled by Afton, but he isn't anymore. Why? Well, let's go back to his malfunction at the beginning of the game. He clearly detects something in the audience, maybe Gregory, I don't know, somebody without an actual, like, identification thing, because we know that Gregory's off the grid because they think he's missing. So, it could have been Gregory. I'd assume so. And after this malfunction, he gets put on safe mode, which I would assume is why Freddy is so confused at the beginning of the game. Like, he wants to help Gregory and he doesn't know why. He stutters a lot. Freddy is clearly just as confused as the player. And then by the end of the game, he realizes that Afton's corruption is the reason why all of his friends are acting the way they are towards Gregory, and now that he's out of the control of him, he realizes what he needs to do. So he goes against his programming and is ready to try to end this, which is why he says the line, "I am not me." I personally think Freddy is a character that feels a lot of remorse in this game. Because of that ending, we know that he actually does remember anything that he would have done while he was possessed by Afton, which was probably assisting in the murders and helping create this little hideout for Afton in the underground, which he now knows wasn't under his own free will, and now he's angry. I also think that safe mode is a good reason to why his eyes are white throughout the whole game instead of blue. So, Vanny. And don't you dare make your, haha, funny, you're barely in the game, haha, funny joke. I've heard that before, everybody. So let's start off with one of Vanny's design elements that really doesn't make sense if somebody was in the suit. Why is the back stitched up? Like, can somebody come up with an explanation for this? Because the only explanation is that whatever's inside the suit is trapped in the suit. And we know that Vanessa's not trapped in the suit. So there you go. Vanny isn't Vanessa. The suit is literally stitched shut. Not to mention how they have completely different proportions and Vanessa is literally taller. So, you're probably asking, if Vanny isn't Vanessa, then what is Vanny? What's in the suit? And there's some unused voice clips in the files that could actually give us a very, very telling hint at what is inside of Vanny and what Vanny is.
Are you having fun yet? There you are. There you are. There you are. There you are. See you soon. See you soon. See you soon. Disassemble Freddy. Let's have some fun. I see you.
So, I don't know if you guys noticed while listening to Vanny's unused voice lines, but that is the voice of one of the therapists that mysteriously goes missing after talking to patient 46, and also the laughs of small children, probably around Gregory's age. What could this mean? So patient 46 is definitely Vanny, or at least some form of Vanny. And, okay, so this is gonna sound pretty crazy, but Vanny is similar to Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy in the sense that she is a glob of dark remnant and collected souls that are just randomly just put together as a physical form. And these souls are being contained inside of this rabbit suit and basically just made to do terrible things. And when your eyes distort around Vanny, my theory for that is that she has an illusion disc equipped. Why does she have an illusion disc? So when she takes off the mask, she can look human. Whoa! So this is why the therapist just thinks patient 46 is just some mentally deranged adult child, you know? And why when Gregory takes off Vanny's mask, it's Vanessa. Because the illusion disc is making it look like a human. It's simple as that. Vanny is not a human. Vanny is like some weird glob of remnant collecting souls. Because how else would you explain the multiple voices? So, I'm actually really happy with this theory, because I can't really see much that's going against the Vanny theory. If you guys have anything that you guys would like to add on to that, please let me know. But I really just think that is the best explanation for what Vanny is, because Vanny's a really weird character in this game. Like, she is nothing like anybody expected her to be. So, in conclusion, there's a lot we can explore with this game, but I think I got my main points out in this video, and I think I'm overall pretty happy with how this is. So, yeah, I might do a part 2 if this video does really well, but yeah, that's what I think about Security Breach. That's what I think about all the characters. Vanny and Vanessa are separate beings. Burntrap is, just kind of there because he's forced to be. He doesn't actually want to be, but he's still trying to do evil stuff, you know, because he's Burntrap. You know, he wants to pass on his legacy. Cassidy is the Blob, and Glamrock Freddy is not possessed, and Gregory is one of the missing children. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think of this in the comments, and I don't know, I've never really made a video like this before, so I hope it does well. See you guys in the next video.